Welcome, everyone. This is Mike Dotterer, and we are on the dot. And I am so excited. We have a very special guest that I have known for many, many years. I'll just say since 1979. So, and we spent a lot of time in this place behind me. It used to be bigger. It used to seat over 80,000 people. And thanks to John Arriaga, he redid it, and it's a brand new stadium. I think it's been around for a decade or more. And it only seats today about 55,000, something like that. But in any event, I'm so excited to have her on today. But before I do, I am going to, as many of you know, if you've listened to On the Dot, we like to start with birthdays. And before we start with birthdays, I want to send my thoughts and prayers out to a good friend of mine who was just a great guy. He grew up in Hawaii. He was Steve Prefontaine's roommate at the University of Oregon. If you ever know about track and field, Steve Prefontaine was a great runner from Oregon. And Russ was a javelin thrower, baseball player, major league drafted. He was, and then also drafted first pick by the New England Patriots back in the 70s. And he went on to be an all-pro tight end for the New England Patriots. Then he went to the 49ers and won a Super Bowl, caught a touchdown from Joe Montana in the Super Bowl at this stadium, Stanford Stadium. And he just a great guy. And unfortunately, this past Sunday, he and his friend were flying here in upstate New York, actually up in Lake Placid. Many of you may have known Lake Placid used to be it was where the 1980 Olympic Games were held. And he tragically died in a plane crash. And his name is Russ Francis. And I just want to say to Russ, his family, my heart and prayers go out to you. And Russ was a great person. His spirit resides in all of you that he touched, and it resides in me. And he had that Hawaiian spirit because he grew up in Hawaii. He was just a wonderful person, a great athlete, and even a better human being. So I'll start with that, and then we'll go into the birthdays. And there's some great birthdays here that I want to wish happy birthday to. Today, I want to wish my good friend Arlene Roach happy birthday. John Haskins, one of the great linebackers in Stanford history. John Haskins, happy birthday. Coach Haskins, he coaches football down in Tampa, Florida, and I had a great chat with him today. And he's very optimistic that we can have a good game against Coach Prime. A week from today, Stanford is going to Colorado to play the University of Colorado, and that's where Deion Sanders, we call him Coach Prime. So John said we got a chance to maybe beat Colorado, which would be amazing. So anyway, happy birthday, John. And I want to wish number 61, another great Stanford pulling guard, one of my good friends. He also lives in Florida, Jim Smythe. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, James. And he's a writer. He's a great person. He was a great player. And he's a good friend. So happy birthday, I call him number 61. So happy birthday, number 61. Happy birthday to my cousin, Dwight Thomas, who lives in Edmonton, Alberta. Happy birthday. He turns 80 today. So happy birthday, cousin Dwight. Happy birthday to Rod Weckworth. Rod is an amazing person out of Sacramento. Rod Weckworth, happy birthday, my good friend. Happy birthday to JJ Stokes. JJ was a wide receiver for the 49ers. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday to Albert Lewis, a great defensive back for the Raiders. It's Albert's birthday. Happy birthday to John Schnug. John Schnug was my baseball team member when I was 9 years old in Orinda, California. We played for the Rindo Bronco League, and we also swam for the Aqua Bears. So happy birthday to John today. And happy birthday to Napoleon McCallum. Napoleon McCallum was one of the great Raider alumni and was a great player at the Naval Academy. Happy birthday, Napoleon. And happy birthday to Peter Boutin. Peter's an attorney, graduated from Stanford, and just want to wish happy birthday to Peter. So without further ado, I am going to introduce to you my very good friend who lives on the Hawaiian Islands, and she's going to tell you all about her. An amazing woman. She grew up in Southern California, went to high school there just like I did, and she came to the farm, and we were there at the same time, 1979, and she decided, and she'll tell you, I don't know how, but she wanted to study medicine, and she became an orthopedic surgeon. And I had the honor and the privilege to work with her for a few years. And boy, an amazing woman that not only was a great orthopedic surgeon, but understood the brain. She was one of the first orthopedic surgeons that really, truly understood CTE, which many of you have learned through the last decade when you hit your head too many times. And she was an orthopedic surgeon that really championed education and helped a lot of high school kids understand how critical cognitive development is, and how hitting your head too many times is not good. So anyway, and she's gone on and done amazing things. She travels around the world. And by the way, when she was at Stanford, she not only was a great student, she was a dolly. And for some of you that are listening, watching live from around the world, a dolly is at Stanford the equivalent of what we call a cheerleader. And that's what we call, she was a dolly. So she can dance, she can kick, she can move, and she's smart. So again, amazing woman. And I'm going to put her on right now. Let me bring her up here. Okay. Dr. Lenita Williamson, how are you?
Hey, Dot. What a lot of hype. I'm nervous.
No, you're beautiful. Look at that. I mean, you look like you just graduated from college. How do you get that beautiful skin like that?
Oh, can't tell my secrets.
So, Dr. Nita, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on the dot, because I must say there are friends of mine that have said, hey, can I get you on the dot? And they said, nope, not going on the dot. And I don't know why. Maybe they're shy, but I want to thank you. And actually, I want to tell our audience, many of you that know me, I co-authored a book with my good friend Alex von Allman called Zodian. And it has nothing to do with astrology. It's about personality. And it's based on Jungian psychology and the Myers-Briggs survey. And many of you that know me, I'm an ENFP, which in the Zodian terminology is I'm a Pegasus, a flying horse. Well, I had a great chat with Dr. Nita last week to, say, hey, come on the dot. And we started talking about personality. And I finally think I got it, Dr. Nita. You're an INFP, right?
We talked about this last week, and because we talk about it a lot, I saved the image of my Myers-Briggs that we did together years and years ago. And according to this, I am an ENFJ. And I had to go back and look at it again. Some of those letters that correspond to personality or human traits, whatever you call it, are really kind of on the borderline. And some are really strongly leaning towards one trait or another or preference. So, we've gone back and forth. And I think that if I were to do this test again, I would probably have a different set of personality or preferences.
Well, I think when you did the survey, you were right in the middle of your career. You were very busy, every day you were doing surgeries or seeing patients. And, I think sometimes you may have answered some of the questions based on the good work that you did. But I think now that you're able to relax on the Hawaiian Islands, do a little scuba diving, travel the world, you have gone now into your natural state. And I think your natural state is, correct me if I'm wrong, don't you get energy from your alone time?
Yes, we talked about that.
Yep. So that's the I. Years ago, I thought I was an I. And people said, what?
You're an
I thought I
E.
was an I.
You're
I
a
didn't
hard
want
E.
to try to be. But one of the reasons you and I connect, we really get one another, is you're an N. And an N is big picture dreamer versus my mother and my sister, who I love dearly, love them both. They're S's, they're linear pragmatic. John Elway, the great John Elway, who you cheered for, he's an
And
S.
against. And against.
Right. You didn't cheer against. How could you cheer against John Elway?
In high school, I went to Monroe in the San Fernando Valley, and he went to Granada Hills. And every time every time we played them in baseball and in football, I was a high school cheerleader, and he was my arch enemy. But then when I got to Stanford, it was
So you knew John Elway before John Elway?
No, I didn't know him.
I know John Elway?
I didn't know him. We did, he went to the rival high school, and I was a cheerleader, and he played sports. So we were always cheering our team on against him and his team. So that was 76 to 79. Granada versus Monroe.
Did you actually know his name when you were cheering?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody. Yeah, he was great then.
Now, when we all came to Stanford, did you go up to him and say, "Hey, John, just to let you know, you and I are both from the Stanford"?
No, that's not how I roll. That's how you roll. That's how you roll. That's not how I roll. I just do me. I just shine and then, recognize if you want to.
Did you ever have any conversations the 4 years with John at all?
I don't think so. I didn't play football. No.
What do you mean? You were a doc?
Yeah, no, John. I'm just. That's the truth.
Well, you know what? Here's what
you can't get mad about like something from 40 years ago. It is what it is.
By the way, folks, this is just to let you know. This is an example. Dr. Nita, again, gets her energy from her alone time, which is an I. She's big picture dreamer, which I am as well. John is linear pragmatic, and my sister's linear pragmatic. I could name other people. I could go on and on. And it just means it's just a different way of looking at the world. And then the next one is Dr. Nita is a feeler. I believe a feeler like me. John Elway is a thinker. John Elway starts his decision-making from an analytical approach, just like Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein started his decision-making. And what people don't know, Dr. Nita, if you're a thinker, that does not mean you're not compassionate or empathetic. It doesn't mean that. It just means you start your decision-making from an analytical approach. So I believe so.
My feeler instinct is actually the strongest out of the 4. The feeler was like 47%. I'm looking at it. And so that's way, there's no middle ground there. I'm way over there. So.
Me too.
Good. Well,
that's right. Yeah. So see, you and I are both big picture, which is N. You and I are both feelers. And then the last one, I think when you were an orthopedic surgeon doing the great job helping people, I'm sure you helped people come into, they were aching and then they left and they were like, God, I can move my shoulder. Oh, my ankle, I can walk. You were a J, meaning when the surgery started at 10 a.m. in the morning, you probably were there at 9:59 ready to go. But I suspect your natural state might be go with the flow, like me. What do you think?
Maybe. I took that test in a long time ago, probably about 8 years ago or so. And I'm in a totally different space now. Definitely a lot more go with the flow because I don't have the same stresses and deadlines and day-to-day lifestyle that I had then that required me to be exacting. And now it's like, it's this Hawaiian. It's all aloha.
Well, Dr. Nita, I think you might be right in the middle too. For all those people that are listening and thinking, what is this guy talking about? We're talking about personality, and Dr. Nita might be right in the middle. If you look at the curve, she might be able to go either way, which is she could go with the flow, but she also, when we got on before this, we went live here, Dr. Nita was there. And so you might be able to go, and I wish I were in the middle, but I am not in the middle, Dr. Nita. I am go with the flow all the way, baby. That's
Well, I'm
me.
definitely go with the flow, but when it comes time to travel or decision making, I'm very exacting. I'm the one at the airport 3 hours early, watching everybody scramble. And I'm the one on the call 10 minutes early so that when you log on, you see that I'm already there, and that's eliminated all that stress for you and for me. So when it comes to time management and things like that, yes, but the rest of my life, go with it.
Yeah, so you can in baseball we you can bat from the right hand side or you can go from the left hand side. So if you were a baseball player, you'd be like who was a Mookie? Is Mookie Betts a switch hitter?
I
Mookie?
think that sounds familiar. Well, I'm left-handed, and almost all left-handed people are ambidextrous in the orthopedic world. So, a left-handed person, when they broke their left arm and they go in a cast, they can write with their right. A right-handed person, when they break their arm and they get a cast, they're done. They can't even eat or wipe themselves with their left. So, I'm left-handed, so I think that's taught me that in surgery I had to learn how to use tools right-handed because that's what they made and that's what the way they were designed. And so I think that's helped me all along.
By the way, I don't know if he's still listening, but do you know Mike Alston? You remember Mike Alston?
I'm not as good with names
Well,
as
it's
you are,
okay.
Mike.
When I was working in medical sales and coming to your office, knocking on your door saying, "Hey, Dr. Nita, I've got this new device. Would you use this in surgery?" Well, I worked with Mike Alston and he just, he's online watching us and he said, "Hey, Dot." Mike says, "I'm an ENFJ too." And then he
Hey,
says,
hey.
"Oh, he's still there. Mike
Uh-huh.
is there. Hi, Mike."
Yeah. Why, when Dot and I reconnected in the medical device phase, that was just many of our reconnections over the decades. So we, kind of flow in and out of each other's lives for a
Yep.
long, long time. And it was a good phase. It was fun.
And we got to thank Dee Dee too, of your fellow Dolly Dee Dee.
My best friend.
Hi, Dee Dee and
Is she there?
Billy Reed.
Are they on?
No, but
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna send them the recording so they
Oh,
can
okay.
watch.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just here. It's your party.
Yeah, but I want to thank Mike Alston. Mike, thank you for tuning in. And Mike, if you ever get to Hawaii, Dr. Nita is going to talk about how she got from high school in Los Angeles and just Dr. Nita, how did you? I mean, because you're a woman, you're a minority woman, and when you and I grew up, when we were young kids, I'm 62 years young. You're, by the way, you look like you're 29, so we don't want to get into that. But Dr. Nita, it was not easy to do what you did, which is to go from the San Fernando Valley in high school, Monroe High School, to get accepted to Stanford, to be a Dolly, and then also study pre-med. How did you do it?
Wow. So if we go way back in time, I was always a nerd. My mom was a teacher, and so she brought home extra things and assignments and channeled me into the gifted kids program. And I have to thank her because if she had not been an educator, I'd have just gone to school in my neighborhood and I might not be, I wasn't put on the same trajectory. I wouldn't have been put on the same trajectory, but I went to school far from where I lived. Like Monroe High School was, halfway across the valley from Sylmar, California. So I have to just thank mom for that. And then on my dad's side, he was just that always cheerleader. Sometimes he didn't understand what I was studying, but he would just say, "Atta girl, do it." And we'd watch Star Trek when I was a little kid on Sunday nights. And that little phrase, boldly go where no man has gone before. That and seeing Lieutenant Uhuru were like instilled in my brain as I could do anything, I could be anybody, the sky's the limit. And I really didn't know barriers. When I was told that, yeah, you can apply to Stanford, you won't get in, go to Pierce College, go to CSUN. When I got in, I just think that I have always met a challenge and risen to the challenge. And with the support of my parents and just some fundamentals, it's just helped me at each stage of high school to college, college to med school, which was great because I stayed at Stanford for Stanford Med School, which really gave me a good foundation. My support network was already there at Stanford. So that helped me. And choosing orthopedics was just a tough road, but of all the classes I took in med school, my anatomy was the strongest. And when I went on the orthopedic rotation, I was just doing the Snoopy dance. It was natural. I was a tinkerer. I fixed things. I worked with my hands. I learned lefty loosey and righty tighty, but I naturally gravitated towards orthopedic surgery. So I was just lucky enough to follow my instincts and just say, I love this. And I know it's a boys' club. I know that, I'm not going to get the support of my chairman or a lot of other people, but I can't help it. I have to do this. So I think that was a really big transition, trying to, go into orthopedics and the challenges that I faced, applying, getting in, and then the residency and training. So, but with the support of friends and families and mentors, I think that having great mentors was really helpful. People to call on a tough day, and just gravitating towards those few people who were really in my corner, and just trying to ignore the haters, were helpful tools to help me just succeed at those junctures.
Yeah, you all the barriers that you had to overcome, because it's just, when you became an orthopedic surgeon, what percentage of orthopedic surgeons were women?
Okay, I can't even tell you that number. All I know is that when I started my orthopedic residency, there were 7 African American female orthopedic surgeons in the United States. 7.
7.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
Wow.
7. And now there's a few dozen. Now there's kind of, I want to say a lot more. There are more. And that's really good to see when I go to orthopedic meetings now. I'm like, ooh, whereas before when I go to orthopedic meeting, I never saw anybody that looked like me. And it was very isolating and sometimes discouraging, but, learn to hold your head up high and just sit in the front of the room and just, be you. But now it's just like, hey there, I see you. And so that's a lot more fun to see more people that look like me. But I understand their challenges. And so I'm not a snob. I go up and introduce myself, exchange cards, tell them what I've done, find out if they want to engage or, continue to communicate or whatever people need. So it's really nice to see more people, but whew, it was rough.
If there's someone out there right now listening to our On the Dot with you, and let's say there's some young high school girl that wants to go into medicine and they would like for you to be a mentor for them, what's the best way to reach you, Dr. Nita?
Well, my name, if you Google my name, it's pretty unique. So you can just find me that way. There's not a lot of Lenita Williamsons. That's just, I think, one of the easiest ways. I don't know, Mike, you're the one that's a good communicator and connector. So you're going to be better at telling me how to communicate with other people. But my youngest niece, she's in 10th grade and we chat they don't talk. We text, and it's really neat to see that she's taking AP classes and physics and chemistry. She wants to go to Oxford. She wants to be a surgeon. She is on a robotics team. And so I actually, even though I mentor younger people, I learn from them. And it's exciting to see how they live the world, how they explore the world, how they're navigating the world, which is completely different than the way I did it. So it's a two-way street.
Yes. It reminds me, when you just said that, there's a great movie starring Robin Williams called Dead Poets Society.
Oh, yeah.
And there's that scene where he's standing, and unfortunately it was all boys, no girls, but it was all boys school. And he stands in front of the classroom and he says, I am going to learn more from you than you learned from me.
Carpe diem.
And that's what you just articulated that. You just, you had the same. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, so Dr. Anita, you told me some stories because after you completed your medical degree at Stanford, undergrad and medical, you went and did your residency in the Big Apple.
Brooklyn. I'm rolling up my sleeves because it was completely different than hoity-toity academic Stanford. Brooklyn was grimy and gritty. I was there when crack was just an epidemic. I was there when HIV was an epidemic and had no cure. And the intersection of those things in the medical field was was mind blowing. And I came from a San Fernando Valley girl, eyes wide open, skipping down the street, to having a fake persona of like a badass. And I kind of had to wear a mask because that's not really who I am. But it was where I ended up after Stanford education, applying to 66 programs. I got into my 65th, 66th choice. And many people say I was lucky to even get in at all. But I got into SUNY downstate Brooklyn / Kings County. It's in Brooklyn. And I got into Montefiore. It's in the Bronx. And that's the only places I got into. Because in that time, they weren't letting in people like me. So I was happy to be there. It was tough, though. The stories I could tell in terms of culturally, going from the Valley and from Stanford to Brooklyn. And I love it. There's parts of it I loved. I love the culture, the music. I love going to Soho and the Village and dancing the night away when I had time. I love the diversity in the population. It was interesting to see that people lived in pockets, like they never left their 4 square blocks, and there was pockets of people. And so a lot I learned culturally, but I also learned how to learn, and I learned how to teach myself, and I learned the basics of orthopedic trauma surgery. And at that time in my training, we were really independent. The 5th year taught the 4th, the 4th taught the 3rd, the 3rd taught the 2nd. And on your way up, you taught the people behind you, and you learned from the people above you. It wasn't academic at all. It was just roll up your sleeves and get down and get dirty.
Well, when you're sharing that story, how you got to Brooklyn and your residency there, I just saw a movie that I hadn't seen in 30 years, and they could make the same movie about you. It's a different field, different playing field, but I just watched the movie Rudy.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Well,
Yeah.
For anyone out there that's never seen the movie or doesn't remember the movie Rudy, it's a lesson, not just for an American football player, but it's a lesson for life. And what Dr. Nita just shared, she didn't quit. She knew what she wanted to. She knew it. She put her eye on the prize, what her bliss was, what her goal was, and nothing was going to deter you. Right, Dr.
Well,
Nita?
I love ortho. I loved every aspect of it. I loved it. And, the boys didn't love me being there. In fact, there were 6 residents per year, and there were 6 in our year, 2 of which were women. And the first thing they did was, kind of facilitate her exit. So there were 5 of us our year, and a lot of people spent a lot of time trying to get it down to 4. So it was really hard to not only do all the things you have to do to train to be a doctor, but navigate the boys club and accept the fact that no matter what you do and no matter how much you shine, these people are not going to accept you, like you, help you. And so once again, that's how it is. Let me find my mentors. Let me find my allies. Let me shift gears. Let me focus on passing my boards, because that was like the number one thing you wanted to get out of your training, was to be competent enough to be board certified. And not all the residents in my year or in my program could pass their boards, but I did. And so that was my milestone, and that was my goal. And I did everything I could to learn and to teach myself and, be taught the skills I needed to just shine, just, groove. But, transitioning from Brooklyn to Iowa, the next chapter was equally as mind blowing. But that's, that was the next chapter.
You went from, if you can make it there, you can make it everywhere, to the field of dreams,
I went to
Iowa, right?
Iowa, yeah, where I was a sports medicine fellow. So after being an orthopedic surgeon and training, I wanted to fine tune my skills because I've always wanted to be a sports doctor. I've always enjoyed human performance and seeing what the human body can do. And one of my good friends in junior high reminded me, she said, "Yeah, when we were in junior high, you said you wanted to be a sports doctor." And I'm like, "I did." I knew I wanted to be a doctor since I was 4, but I don't think I really narrowed it down. But Iowa was great. I mean, they have all the teams, all the athletes, all the resources. And I just had an all access pass to every practice, every field, every event for a whole year as I learned the nuances of, taking care of athletes and all kinds of athletes, not just football, but, like learning about the mindset of wrestlers from the greatest, Dan Gamble, wrestling coach. I think at the time he had 13 Olympic medals or medal, awards for being coaching for that many years, and learning about the women athletes and the lacrosse players and the runners and the gymnasts and the things that each needed, and even ballet dancers and how, what their mindset is and what they need. So super fun year, really focused. Really just, I would say it was kind of like a finishing school because it was much more formal and much more academic. And I think it rounded off all the rough edges of Brooklyn. But it also taught me, because I got there kind of intimidated, like, this is academic. These guys are smart. But what I learned there is the 5 years of rolling up my sleeves in Brooklyn taught me a lot of, I don't want to say street smarts, but the real nitty gritty of orthopedics. And I think there it was more like, well, let's read this article about how to treat la la la. And I was like, well, we can read the article once they're stable and they're alive, but like right now, let's save them. And then we can talk about the academics. And so it was a good balance for me to learn to be more academic, to polish off the rough edges, but to really kind of give myself a pat on the back and say, you know what, I learned a lot of things in Brooklyn. And so I really left there with much higher self-esteem as I realized I was as good as, if not better, and that the 5 years of Brooklyn with the icing of the cake of finishing school was a nice balance.
Well, I know, Dr. Nita, because what it's like to be in the operating room. And I was very fortunate to be in the operating room with Mike Alston, who, by the way, Mike just texted me here saying he's still in the medical device world and he's now working for Zimmer. And he says, I'm going to Hawaii next year. Can I contact you?
I'm in Maui.
Okay. And he
There's
also
a lot
says,
of islands, so you got to make sure you get to the right island.
All right. Yep. You're in Maui. Yep. So and then he also says, Dr. Nita, it's great to see some women break down the doors of the Orthopedic Boys Club. And I'll tell you, just like I said, Rudy, with the story what you're describing, I'm thinking of Rudy, what he did. What you did was similar to what Rudy did at Notre Dame. Well, what you also did, as you know, as many of you know, my father was a Major League Baseball player in the 50s. And in the 1950s, you had Jackie Robinson. You had Roy Campanella, Kurt Flood, Frank Robinson. All those people I just mentioned, my father knew. Well, what you just said, when you started in the orthopedic field, you and those 4 women that you mentioned, you were the Jackie Robinson, the Roy Campanella, the Frank Robinson, the Kurt Flood. So kudos to you. Thank you. I mean, everyone should be thanking Dr. Nita for breaking those barriers down. So thank you, Dr. Nita.
Well, thank you. It's really was my passion, and any job in the world, if you're a street sweeper, garbage guy, or, CEO, gosh, if you're not doing what you love, it's not happy. And so even though there were obstacles, and I think there are obstacles to everything, I was doing what I love, and I am doing what I love in the operating room, and the ritual and the sequences of steps in doing surgery is just something that I really enjoyed.
Well, if anyone's out there that wants to get in touch with Dr. Nita, please connect with me, and I'll connect you with Dr. Nita. I'm her agent now.
Right.
And she travels all around the world. Dr. Nita, you just got back from a beautiful place in the world. Could you tell some people about your recent trip?
Oh, I was in Honduras last week, near Roatan, the Bay Islands, and I scuba dive a lot, and I do a lot of travel scuba, and it was just beautiful, warm blue water, 85-degree water. We were on a private island where our group of friends and divers were the only people on this little bitty island. And we, had great food and great diving, and they had this lazy river on this little island. And so we spent a lot of time floating. But right now, my life is all about my next travel destination. And I like to learn the history and the culture of the people I'm visiting and understand, you know, the history and politics of things. And then when I go, I have a sort of little bit wider frame of view into them and how they live and how they got to where they are. And I scuba dive and I'm just hopping. Most of my trips are scuba, but some are not scuba, but mostly scuba diving.
Well, Dr. Nita, when I was growing up as a kid, one of my heroes was Jacques Cousteau.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to ask you, because have been seeing in the last few years, the underwater world. Are we taking care of our underwater world? What is your thoughts about?
No, we're not. No, we're not. And in fact, the island I was on, just a stone's throw away on the mainland of Guanaja, Jacques Cousteau had a research place there, and he was one of the first people to kind of map out the underwater world there. So he had a presence in I want to say the 70s. This is what one of the guides told me. But with global warming and the coral reefs, and people in many parts of the world using the ocean as their garbage can, I don't think we're really taking good care of the world. And the places that have the best diving are the places that are the least developed and commercialized. But at the same time, it's hard to see some of the destruction. But what I just try to do is dive and not touch anything and leave it how I found it and just take a picture and have a memory. So hopefully that will help me to be a steward and share my stories and adventures with other people and get them interested in seeing what it's like underwater and helping preserve that. And I think nothing is truer than in Maui in the way the Hawaiian spirit and culture respects the aina, or the land, and the respect of their resources is really what resonates with me, and it's part of one of the reasons that I live here now.
Yeah, Hawaii is beautiful. I can't wait to come visit you.
It'll happen. It always happens.
So, Dr. Nita, we're at the 38-minute mark, and we can go as long as you want. We can talk about whatever you want. I think your life is amazing. And do you want to? I guess are you still advising in the orthopedic world? Or you actually, let's talk about, you're working on some entrepreneurial activities that can. Yes.
I knew you were gonna go there, Dot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So about 20, my whole career in surgery, I would be in the middle of an operation and I'd say, hand me a certain instrument. And then everyone would scramble and say, well, we can't find it, or we don't know where it is. And I would say, well, gosh, I do this every day. I do this every week. I've been doing this for 17 years here. And this would happen again and again. And for a lot of reasons, my list of tools and instruments was never updated or accurate. And so I sat down with a developer and tried to solve this problem in surgery with what we call surgical preference cards. And that's a list of tools and instruments that people use in surgery. And I like to give the analogy to people who aren't in medicine. It's like a recipe for baking a cake. You do not just go in the kitchen and start baking a cake. You kind of look at the recipe and then go to the store and get the ingredients. And then you start to bake the cake when you know you have everything. Well, my recipe cards for almost all of my surgeries were just ridiculous. And after years and years and years and years and years of not having it, I created, with the help of people along the way, an app called Procedure Card, which is manages surgical preference cards in the operating room. And so when I decided to, I don't want to say retire, but pivot, because I'm still involved with orthopedic surgery. I don't do surgery right now, but I might. Um, that door is still open, but I've pivoted a few years ago and working full time as a CEO and founder of this software company. So I'm working in health tech. I'm working with technology. It's good because I get to work with another set of people who work in coding and developing. So it's opened up a whole nother network of people. But guess what? It's a boys club. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in another boys club. So I recognize the territory, but I'm hoping to project a positive energy so that the experience I'm having now in a male dominated technology sector can be softer and can be more forgiving and can help me to grow the company in a way that's healthy for me. But I'm having fun doing that. So I do health tech. I work with teams, and my goal in Hawaii is to help grow the tech space if that's what the people want. And my goal in Hawaii is to connect with people in Oahu who are younger, who are, those young brains that are coding and involved with healthcare and technology to help grow the space in Hawaii. Because I think that tourism is always going to be here, but we get hurt when tourism stops. And I'd love to see the kids surf and code. And in addition to surfing and working in a restaurant or working in the hotel or tourism industry, but I do it out of respect because I think in Hawaii, you want to work with what the people want and not demand or put on them what you think they should want. So I'm navigating that territory very carefully with the Maui techies and the technology sector, healthcare sector in Hawaii to do it respectfully. So that's where I am now when I'm not scuba diving. And I think I'm going to Solomon Islands next month, right after our reunion.
Wow.
So another trip.
Solomon Islands, beautiful. Well, you know what I love about this? We're on using StreamYard. I can create a banner. And what is the website? If someone wants to go to a website to look at some of your work, what is the website?
Procedure Card. That's one word.
Procedure. So that's PROCEDURE.
Card.
One
word. .com.
Okay, I'm going to put the H. It's probably HTTPS://. Is it? Do you have to do www or no? What's that?
We're secure. You don't need that W.
Okay, so I just got
no W's.
So what I'm going to do? Watch this.
Oh gosh.
I'm going to put
This is a spelling test.
You'll see if I spell if I'm a good speller. For more information, go to, and then there we go. Watch this. Here we go. Let's see if it works.
Drum roll.
Okay, here we go. Oh, hold on. God, I got this new. There we go. There we go. Oh, that's not it. Sorry.
There it is. I saw it.
There it is.
Yes, that's it. Procedurecard.com. You got it. Yeah, so that's my website, and that's what I'm working on when I'm not traveling and I'm still an orthopedic surgeon and just deciding what I'm going to do with that. But it's kind of what I'm doing now.
Well, just to let you know, when you talked about coding, and I got to ask you this because you're a big picture person, thinker, which is we're talking about big picture. What do you think? How do you think Chat GPT and artificial intelligence is going to affect the orthopedic?
It's scary good. I think it affects the world. I think that the machine learning is going to identify and predict what our patterns are in our routine and just do it. I already use it, not so much in ortho, but in other parts of my life. I was asked to write a bio for our class reunion, And I wrote my bio and I said, just for kicks, since it's a new techie thing, let me run it through Chat GPT. And I said, hey, look at this essay and, tell me what you think, fine tune it. And it turned into a, wow, I was like, masterpiece. So I sent that into my class reunion committee. And I also put on there, edited by Chat GPT. And I thought it was just, I was trying to share my bio with my classmates, but at the same time, let them know that AI is here. And after doing that and see how it transformed my bio / essay, it made me really more cognizant of what people like the screen actors and the writers, what their fear is, because this essay looked good. And so I think that the predictive technology of machine learning is going to invade into every part of everyone's life. And I'm actually looking at it as a case study for when people are looking for a surgical preference card or using our app and they're a nurse and they're in surgery, that AI can say, oh, you're a nurse in this kind of surgery. This is what you want, because this is what 90% of people who are looking for. So we're already looking at predictive technology and what AI can do to make everyone's day better. Sorry to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, beautifully articulated, Dr. Nita. I mean, I don't think, because you're not, some people say, oh, I'm afraid I can't, it's not
No,
good.
it's here. It's here.
Yeah. So the question is, we can go toward the light and use it for good. And we probably could go the other way, right?
Well, I think, you got to sit at the table and be open-minded to what's in front of you. And I was in LA just a couple days ago and people are still striking. And when I had to do that essay and run it through Chat GPT, I was like, oh, I now see what they're talking about in terms of job security and what technology can do to, edit a movie script or whatever it is, that they're striking about.
Yeah. Well, I've been using it like you. I've been using it for some of my essays. And what I've done, and I encourage everyone to try this, and you did this obviously with your class, our class, because we're in the same class, Stanford. What you do is you start to interact with ChatGPT and you put in things that you want to talk about, and you start, and it's basically what I share with people. And I don't know if I said this to you in our conversation last week, but I look at ChatGPT as having Albert Einstein as your best friend and William Shakespeare as your next door neighbor.
You said that. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, well, and so, and I understand, when people say, well, are you, are you plagiarizing? It's not your ideas. No, that letter that you wrote to our class, those are your thoughts. But ChatGPT was able to say, oh, well, why don't you do it like this or that? So it's basically your editor. It's like having the greatest editor in the world.
Spell checker, thesaurus. Yeah. It's basically like having your English teacher proof it. Syntax, grammar, things that in ortho I didn't really care about because I just wanted to get the facts across.
What's amazing about the Chat GPT also, let's say English isn't your native language. Oh my gosh. But you have brilliant ideas and you don't know how to you don't know how to write them. And can you imagine how artificial intelligence is helping people communicate, because that speak different languages? So
I use it in several aspects of my software, both for the example I just gave you, but also in instructional videos that I want to give to my users. So everything I touch, I kind of take a back seat and say, well, how could AI make this better? And when I went to an orthopedic meeting in July in DC, the sports meeting, people are just beginning to say, how can I use technology in surgery? And I saw several papers presented and I'm like, gosh, I've been doing this for like 6-7 years. So let me put an abstract out there, because what they're talking about and just starting to think about I'm not going to say I'm better or smarter or ahead of them, but I've already been thinking about it and I already have data that can be used to further my cause in my orthopedic field. And I was really proud to see that I was pretty relevant in the health technology space and orthopedic surgery.
Well, I hope some of our fellow Stanford alumni and some of your orthopedic colleagues are going to listen to this, because they need to connect with you, especially if they want to be on the cutting edge of where orthopedics are going. And your mind, you're brilliant, Dr. Nita.
It's so funny, Dot, because I just think about just doing what I do and just doing my Scooby dance, but you are always the connector. And you have always been that person who is really strongly focused and good at saying, well, this is great, but I know this one who does this and this one who knows that. And this one you really need to talk to. And I'm not as good at that because of the introvert side of me, the I. So I just kind of just do me and I really appreciate your perspective when you remind me to connect. So thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. Hey, and by the way, guess where Stanford, a week from today, guess where our Stanford Cardinal are going to be?
Oh, I can't wait.
Prime time.
It might be ugly, but I don't care.
I don't think it
might be ugly, but
I don't think it's going to be ugly.
I think
it's going to be a good game in Boulder, Colorado.
Colorado almost beat SC. They needed one more quarter. I've been watching them. I've been watching them and some sort of TV special that Prime did, and the team he had at Jackson State and just the whole thing. And I'm excited. I think that college football has gotten a wake up. So whether you like him or not, politics or not, there's a wake up call that's judged by ratings. Whether or not you want to look at those numbers, but they are exciting to watch. Period.
Dr. Nita, we have a record, Dr. Nita, we have a record in 1980 at Stanford that will never be broken.
You were probably on that record, part of that record.
It's a team record.
Okay.
We had the highest average home attendance for any Stanford team in the history of Stanford football, 1980.
Well, look at the roster.
We averaged 62,000 people per game, and it will never be broken because, let me go to a wide angle, this stadium behind us that was rebuilt, it used to seat 87,000. And how many does it seat now, Dr. Nita?
I don't know. You said a little earlier.
I think 50 some thousand.
Well, I was a dolly back then, and so people were coming to watch me dance. B, you're on the football team there, and so people were coming to watch you play. And C, the stadium was so big that they even had the Super Bowl there one year. So, I mean, it was a perfect storm of me cheerleading and you playing football. Kidding. JK, just kidding. But I believe those stats.
Yeah. So, but the reason I mentioned that, we were entertaining. You were dancing. Our band was playing. We were running. John Elway was throwing touchdowns.
It was a good roster.
Kenny Marjoram, whose birthday, by the way, Kenny Marjoram, birthday was yesterday.
Come on, Darren, Vince, Garen. I mean, there's
Brian Holloway.
Yeah, I can just go on and on. Yeah.
And who was Mike coaching Tolliver, that year? Rodney Gilmore, the great Rodney Gilmore.
Right.
I mean, I could go on. I mean,
who was coaching? White. Was it Paul?
Who's that?
Who was the head coach? Was it Wiggins?
Paul Wiggin, Coach Wiggin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we were entertaining. So the reason I say that is Coach Prime, who some of you might not know his name, that you might be tuning in, that's Deion Sanders. And Deion Sanders grew up in Florida, was a great athlete, track, baseball, Major League Baseball, Super Bowl champion, football, one of the greatest athletes. Rank him right up with Jim Thorpe, Bo Jackson, just a great athlete. But he understands entertainment. And so that's, when people go to a game, They want to be entertained. And so I think it's great for college football because he's entertaining and he does a great job. I really think what I love about him is he really tries to say to the players, hey, if we're going to win, we have to have discipline.
And he's a lot like you in that he knows how to network and he knows how to get the best people on his coaching staff and on his team, big team, to help his player excel. Like when his son finished a game and he says, I've got to go because I've got a call with Tom Brady and we're going to go over the game. I'm like, wow, what college quarterback does a debrief with Tom Brady? I mean, that's so for him to connect and be able to connect with the best resources there are. That's winning.
Well, he does. He understands what Jimmy Johnson, who I got the chance to meet Coach Jimmy Johnson back when we were in college. I played in the Japan Bowl, Dr. Nita, and Jimmy Johnson was the head coach in 1982 at Oklahoma State before he went to the Cowboys. And I got to know him because he was one of our coaches in the Japan Bowl. And we had a nice little chat. And years later, I see him on, coaching the Cowboys. And I said, I know him. And Jimmy Johnson has the same philosophy that Deion Sanders has. You surround yourself with better people. I mean, you got to surround yourself. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And I think Coach Sanders, Coach Prime, he wants to get the best players he can to Colorado. But I will say this. I just heard a rumor. The University of Florida might be looking for a new head coach. Can you imagine if he goes back to his home state and coaches the Gators?
Who knows? Who knows? It's just fun to just watch. It's just
I hope he stays. I'm hoping he stays at Colorado I don't like to see him stay for 4 years.
I think he knows when to pivot, and he clearly, you can't predict that.
That's true. But I'm just saying, but this whole transfer portal, isn't it crazy? Dr. Nita, I don't know if you know this. I played for 4 different high school football teams.
No, I didn't know that.
4. I went to Rio Americano High School in Sacramento. Then I went to Reno High School in Reno, Nevada. Then I went to Mater Dei High School my junior year. And then my senior year, Edison High School in Huntington Beach. Dr. Nita, I challenge you to find anyone you know that played for 4 different high school football teams.
No.
Well, and I got hit in the head quite a bit back then because I played linebacker. My freshman and sophomore years of high school, Dr. Nita, I played linebacker and running back.
I believe it. And
we had that drill that called the Oklahoma drill. And we loved it.
Would you lead with your head?
Well, we would lay down and then we'd get up and hit each other. And, it's been banned. It's been banned. But in any event, I'll never forget. I mean, if the transfer portal were around when you and I were students, I would have gone to Stanford my freshman year. Then my sophomore year, I might have transferred to UC Berkeley. My junior year, I might have gone. Did you meet Hayden Fry when you were at Iowa? Hayden Fry?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He recruited me. Hayden Fry recruited me. I would have gone to Iowa because I love the Midwest.
Then you would have spent a year at Harvard.
And I would have spent my senior year at Harvard. I would have gone to 4 different, and Dr. Nita, the kids are doing that now.
Why not?
They're going to a school,
Why not?
Yeah.
It's us old fogies who are stuck in patterns, and it's up to us to watch what the next generation does with their creativity and innovation and inventiveness. It's neat.
So, Dr. Nita, you get to On the Dot, and I just want to thank you so much for being on the dot. Here's what I love about the On the Dot. I, don't want to talk. For those people that know me, say, Dot doesn't want to talk. Nope. Don't want to talk. And Dr. Nita, you get the last word, and you can talk as long as you want. There's probably high school, like my cousin. She's in high school here in Syracuse, New York, and she would love to probably hear your message. There's people listening all around the world right now. We're broadcasting live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and it's recorded. So You get the last word, whatever you want to talk about. I just want to thank you. I'm so grateful that you came on the dot and you got me back on the dot because I've taken a little sabbatical. So thank you for getting me back on the dot. And I want to say how excited I am to see you in a couple weeks in Stanford University for our 40th year reunion. And I can't wait.
If we don't connect, Dot, you'll find me on the field at halftime doing my dolly moves. If I don't see you any other time, that's where I'm going to be at halftime.
No, we're going to see each other because I'm coming to that. What is that panel that you're on?
Yeah, we have a class panel. And
class panel.
and they've asked me to be one of the speakers about just kind of reinventing yourself, rejuvenating, rewiring, reinventing. So I've done a lot of pivots, and so I think a lot of people are curious. Is that your alarm clock?
No, that's
Time's
not my alarm
up.
clock. I'm turning the phone. I was going to read though. I turned my phone off. But here's the thing, Dr. Nita, you get the last word and talk about whatever you want to talk about. You might want to talk about, what's the challenges that are going on in Maui or whatever message, but don't hang up. When you're finished, I'm going to stop the stream, but don't hang up.
Mm-hmm.
But again, thank you so much. Namaste. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
Thank you, Dot. It's always been great. And I apologize if you hear my dog in the background, but this day and age, hey, we're at home. Everybody's at home. So I was listening to NPR last night and I heard a little talk about perfectionists. And I realized that my entire career, trying to be perfect, trying to get good grades, trying to get in Stanford, trying to be a doctor, trying to be a surgeon. And in the operating room, you've got to be perfect. And that hanging over your head, not that I want to get a D or fail or suck at something, but I think there are a lot of people who are wired to be perfectionists, and it can be, So now that I've pivoted and I'm not in the operating room and I'm able to just like go with the flow, holo, just, live life. I said to myself, and I wrote this on my whiteboard, I am at this point in my life, I am unburdened from the tether of perfectionism. And I thought about that because I'm free. I'm happy. I'm not stressed. I don't have this low living chronic stress of getting it perfect. I want to get it right. And I can tell you that this perfectionist has been a driver since, God, junior high. So to get off that hamster wheel and just live in Hawaii and find myself and find my inner child and learn how to play and learn how to have fun and learn how to enjoy the work that I do and the things I produce without the burden of having to be perfect, just to be me, is where I am right now. And so that's about it. Thank you.